wanted to have a vulnerable conversation about vulnerability. It's funny how we're all here living and by and large experiencing some version of the same thing in any given moment. We go about life communicating with words, but beneath the words there's a feeling. The way that I act might seem a certain way to one person, but it might seem another way to another person based on how they interpret that same thing. And I think at the end of the day, what we all connect with one another upon is the vibe. As cliche as that sounds, it's like I could tell you a gazillion stories and they might mean nothing to you if they're not said in the correct way. And when we get vulnerable, we peel back those stories. We peel back the layers of superficiality that overlay the depth that we're actually experiencing and feeling. And a lot of those feelings are repressed because it's not sexy to talk about them. But ironically, without talking about them, we can't connect with one another. Something that I have fostered in myself and that I encourage in others is to talk about the shortcomings that we might experience, or the challenges, or the adversity, or the frustrations, or the pain, the sorrow, in addition to the excitement and wonder and all of those things. Because it's only when we realize the experience and the emotion that someone else has encountered that we can connect with that person. A lot of the time in videos, I like to share my experiences, the things that haven't gone well, because I think people can identify with that transformation easier than me just saying a bunch of practical things without any context. There's so much power in your vulnerability if you have the courage to tap into it. And there's so many gifts that can be received from you if you have the courage to articulate from that space. Because I can tell you, I did this and I did that and then that happened. But does that really connect with you? Because I know for me, when I observe my favorite people or my favorite creators or artists, what really stands out to me is the humanness of their journey and how they felt when, they made that attempt 7 times over and it just got worse and worse and worse and the failures kept adding up. But then one day something different happened and it had a different outcome. Because I can see myself in all of those failures. I can see myself in the adversities that others face. And when I talk about vulnerability as a superpower, it's not just focusing on, the shortcomings and the pains and the frustrations. Yeah, that's important, but it's looking at that next to the growth. Because we need that contrast in order to evolve. If you are just succeeding all of the time, what is success without failure? What is heartbreak without love and adoration? What is hope without hopelessness? The power of our stories comes from the synthesis of the burden and the accolade. It comes from honoring the challenge and the pain and the trials and the tribulations that we've been through. And I know that it's hard to look at that. It's hard to embrace and give attention to those vulnerable aspects of self because there's a lot of shame there. But I also know that by having the courage to tap into that and really reflect upon that adversity, and to step into that space of vulnerability, there's a lot of bounty that comes out the other end as well. And of course, we want to make sure that we're surrounded by people that care for us and love us and are going to respect us in that tender space. But when we go there, the riches that we can harvest are phenomenal. And it's too common today that people are attempting to give off this vibe that there's no flaws to their operating system. And it's just not true. And I want you to know that with your flaws, you're still a valuable individual. In fact, I would argue that the more flaws you've encountered, or the more that you've got going on, the more learning and lessons there are to come out of you. And in a sense, the more you fail, the more knowledgeable and valuable that you become. And in those moments where you just sat in that pain of that loss or frustration, or the agony of things not going the way that you wanted them to go, it can be so easy to look at other people in different situations and wish that you were there with them. But if you were to go to that space from that place of rejection, of that part of you that's like seeking support, you would find yourself in that same scenario that may seem better. It may seem more attractive. It may seem like the solution to all of your problems that you're perceiving right now. But actually, I say this from experience, I've gotten to places where I thought I would be, rid of all of the frustration, of inadequacy and all of these things. But ultimately, there's just another version of it awaiting there. And it's another opportunity to tap into vulnerability yet again, to realize that that contrast is going to be experienced throughout your life. And I'm seeing at the moment as well, in addition to that attempt to mask any sense of humanness, that, like masking the part of you that suffers and feels and doesn't want to be around, there's this other kind of narrative that you got to show up and wear your heart on your sleeve and cry in public. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't cry in public, but I'm saying that vulnerability isn't something that needs to be flaunted either. It's just a natural and delicate process that we embark into. And the importance of it is within the lessons and the fruit that come from that process of being vulnerable. It's not a show. It's not like vulnerability is over here, like being weak and being someone that feels and is infallible, and then over here is the person that has it all figured out. It's not like that. I believe vulnerability lies beneath both of those. And when we're vulnerable in our times of sorrow, we're also able to tap into a vulnerability in our times of great appraisal, and acknowledge that beneath whatever's happening, we're feeling something. And I guess a lot of people resist the vulnerable process because a lot of people aren't comfortable with it. Maybe you're not comfortable with it. Maybe the people around you aren't comfortable with it. I was chatting with someone the other day, and they expressed to me that they were unwilling to share certain things in their content because people in their real life might be watching. And I really resonated with that, because I was like that for years. I didn't really express myself as much as I wanted to, because I was afraid of what someone I knew might think of what I was saying. And ironically, the first time I actually, expressed some of those things that I was hesitant to express was the first time that I really connected with people through that content. Like, the audience growth from that point on was parabolic. And again, it comes from a place of like reflecting on myself, reflecting on my experience, my journey, reflecting on the pain, the hardship, and also, you know, overcoming obstacles that I encountered. And that takes a degree of self-reflection, and that's something that I've cultivated in my own content creation practice over the years, and that's what I help other people work through as well. We're starting a new cohort in January. If you're interested in that, there's a link you can apply in the description. But ultimately, it's about recognizing that your biggest strength is within those periods of hardship that you may have endured. It's in the challenges that you've overcome. It's in helping that past version of yourself that found a situation that at the time seemed really impenetrable, and over days or weeks or months, or maybe in just a moment, something changes, something alchemizes within you that allows the light to peep out, you know, through the cloud. And it's not about being cool or appearing this way or that way, but it's just about recognizing yourself and what you're truly worthy of. And the truth is, you're worthy of your own attention. Your sadness is worthy of your attention. It's worthy of your inspection. And there's a reason it's there. You know, we're all experiencing things. We're all experiencing love, loss, hardship. It's so natural, yet we've made it as though it's not. Like, it's some plastic thing that just arrived here. It's been here from the beginning. And it's been suppressed. And because it's been suppressed, we end up with, you know, these drastic pendulum swings of like, oh, he's just disheveled and in sorrow forever. And then this person is in glory forever. It's like, no, we're always going between the two. You can be in sorrow in your glory, and you can be in glory in your sorrow. It's about how we relate to the experience. And when you recognize that the experience you're having is a divine experience, then it's not something that needs to be pushed away, and it's not something that needs to be replaced by some other manifestation of being. You deserve to be vulnerable for yourself, and so that the people around you can learn from you and grow with you. Because we're all here together in this symbiotic experience. We can lift each other up, but we need to lift ourselves up first. And then it just naturally overflows, and the lessons are spread, and the insights go far and wide. It's getting dark here now, so I'm gonna go.